artists behind the epic melodies, songs, and beats. Celebrating the best new music from around the world. This is the A State of Trance podcast.
Hey, what's up? My name is Ruben Ronde, and in the studio today we have absolute royalty, I would say, Mr. Tom Marshall, aka Marsh. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I don't know if I'd say royalty.
Absolutely royalty. There's no doubt about it. It doesn't happen a lot that there's people sitting in front of me that I actually play a lot in my sets as well, the music from. So it's nice to see the man behind the beats.
Well, thank you for the support.
Yeah, well, of course. So we're going to talk about a little bit about your career, what happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. And like always, I just like to start with, how did you fall in love with dance music? Why did you become such a, how do you say it, person that is involved in dance music?
A fanatic.
Fanatic.
I mean, for me, it actually started with a CD called Classic Euphoria. And I think there was mixes. There was 3 CDs. I think Ferry had done a mix, maybe Paul van Dyk and someone else. Oakenfold, maybe.
Classic Euphoria.
And it had like, you
So
know,
like one of those gatecrasher kind of compilations, I would say.
Yeah, it had loads of classic, like late 90s, early 2000s trance on it. So there was like early Ferry Corsten, like his remix of Barbara Adagio for strings, and there was like Silence and Push, Strange World.
So late 90s, basically.
Yeah, and I just fell in love with that sound. I'd always sort of loved like the synthesized sound. I'd not really known what that was, or I couldn't put the name trance to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I eventually realized it was trance, and I started being able to dig for music under this name. And this is going back like to when I'm 12 or 13, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly discovered like A State of Trance. So I'd be listening to this show. At the time, it was like the 30-minute like short episode that Armin would do.
The podcast,
on iTunes.
Yeah.
And I also discovered, I was in like an HMV store in England, and I told the guy like, oh, I really like this trance music. Have you got anything? And he had the Anjunadeep volume album. I think it was like number 5 I started with. He was like, oh, if you like Armin, you got to check these guys out as well. And so, yeah, I just went down the rabbit hole of trance around the world, A State of Trance, Tiesto Club Life at the time. And I'd just be like listening to this
So we're just soaking up all the music that you would just
all the time, yeah. All the time. I mean, I discovered some music had never like spoke to me in that way before, and that's sort of my.
So you just became a massive dance music lover, trance music lover.
Yeah.
And what is the next step in this process that you actually wanted to DJ or make this music?
I grew up playing piano since I was 6. I didn't really love to do it. It was a bit more of a chore for me. I'm thankful that I
very beneficial right now.
Yes, definitely. It gave me an understanding of chords and melodies and keys, and in school, like sort of when I'm an early teenager, I tried to use Cubase and stuff on the school computers to write dance music, and they would
because you were listening to those CDs and you were like, hey, I want to see how this works as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't know what anything was. I didn't know any of the lingo. I didn't know what a kick drum was. I didn't know what I didn't know what a synthesizer really was. Truly, I mean, I was just finding different weird presets, and you could probably put 6 channels of sound together before the computer started to smoke. And
so you had a class in school that had Cubase.
Yeah, we had these old Windows PCs, and some of them worked, some of them didn't, and there was always issues. And in 2009, so this is it's coming on a few years, but I mean, I knew I loved to do it. I knew I loved to write music, and it'd be something I'd even like spend my lunchtime. I'd sometimes go up to the music room and try and use Cubase to write music. And 2009, I bought a MacBook and got Logic and started trying to do it a bit more seriously.
Yeah.
Now I could put more than 8 channels of sound, and
that's all you need anymore. 8 channels right now.
I now use 10 channels. So.
And then because like I said, this was around 2009, 2010, and your first release was actually in 2012, right?
Under Marsh.
Yeah.
I think so.
So you did some stuff before Marsh.
Maybe.
Tell us about it. No, tell us about it.
I actually did after a first year of writing, I released a record. No one actually knows about this.
Well, share it with us. I would love to hear it.
So it was a track under my real name, under Tom Marshall,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on a label called Bosch Recordings.
Bosch, yeah. Sounds very
I
British.
see you laughing, Jack.
Jack has heard it. His manager is here in the studio as well.
Jack's not. He hasn't heard this one.
He's looking it up right now.
I might be managerless after he hears it, actually. But the track was called Air Traffic, and that was my first release. And I was like, if I sign a record to a label, like surely that means I'll be able to start tour. I think a lot of people think that as soon as I get signed, like that's it.
You're done.
I'll be in a state of trance.
Yeah.
But obviously that's very far from the truth. And but I just I was so passionate about it. You couldn't get me away from it. I mean, I was spending all my free time trying to write music, and I didn't have lessons. YouTube wasn't huge for tutorials at that point.
Not yet. No.
I used to post on the Anjunadeep forums.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist anymore, but there was like a production part where you could feedback on other people's work and upload your own and get criticism. And some of that sort of led me down wrong paths, I'd say, in hindsight. You've got to do it this way, and you've got to layer everything, and you've got to do all of this. And but I met some really great people there that I've sort of stayed in touch with, and we've all grown together, actually. So I really recommend those sorts of places for
I guess nowadays, instead of those forums, there's a lot of Discord servers there that you can join and just throw in your tracks for feedback and stuff like that. It's a lot less active, I would say, because I remember those days of the forum as well. Yeah, Trance.nu, Trance Addict. Laybook Luke had a fantastic forum where you could get feedback. And Anjunadeep, Armin had a good forum as well. I guess it's a little bit different nowadays.
Yeah.
But you have a lot more tools for yourself right now that you can look up a lot of information about compression, about layering your synths, just what you were saying as well.
Yeah.
We really didn't really have that.
No.
Starting making music.
I went to university to do music technology,
Mm-hmm.
and this is probably 2011 or maybe 2010, actually.
What does that mean, music technology?
Well, good question. It ended up being quite artsy and quite like, what is music? And, And like, let's see if we can like wire up a bird cage with a violin bow and see if we can create an interest. It was legit, like that actually happened. And
really?
There'd be people like breaking circuits of things to make really random sounds. And it was a lot of like weird, I think maybe, I always wondered like maybe the professors have heard so much music in the course of their life, nothing excites them anymore to the point where they're stretching.
They have to be shocked, so they just come up with random stuff.
They were all the same as well. They were all into this really bizarre stuff, and but that actually got me like to be a bit more open-minded about what I was doing as well, which was useful. But it was supposed to give me like recording techniques and how to write music.
How do you approach a studio session or something like that? Yeah,
and we did some of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel like there was a lot of like things that that I've took away today, apart from you grow a lot at university, you meet great people, and it gave me 3 years without feeling like I needed to get a real job, quote unquote. And that was sort of when I first year into uni signed my first record with Silk Music.
Yeah.
Now Monster Cat Silk, and that was a huge dream come true for me at the time. I'd been trying to do that for a few years.
Yeah. I just want to jump back to the production school, because you see a lot of people that that come up to you with questions at shows, for example, and they say, "Hey, did you do a music school, or do I have to go to a music school to get on the level that you are?" And obviously, you went to a music school. Do you feel that it's necessary for people to go to such an education to get where they are?
I think I take for granted the classical training I have from learning piano. But I think it's worth picking up, like doing once a week a music lesson.
Yeah.
Learn an instrument. Piano is a great instrument to learn for music production. But I also think I see a lot of people. I used to do one-to-one production lessons when I was a bit less busy. And some people I'd meet with, and I could tell they'd not really done anything since I'd last seen them. And I think people think, oh, I can throw some money at like lessons and
then
the
I'll
right
be
course,
fine.
and then like, oh, that'll.
Yeah.
You need the passion for it.
To do it every day.
Yeah, to like sacrifice social time, like with your mates are going out, and you're like, I think I'm going to stay in to try and
finish this remix.
Yeah, and like you can't buy that.
No.
That just that was just like a innate passion that I just developed from like loving the music so much and wanting to be able to
share it with as many people as possible.
I never knew it would have got to this place that it's at now. I mean, I would always be just doing it because I love doing it, and I would have just done a regular, normal person job, and not. That's probably really
I get what you mean. Like a
way of putting it,
like a normal,
a normal job, and that's great. I mean, there's so many jobs that I wouldn't be. That we all have our own thing, right?
Yeah,
and but
definitely, I know what you feel.
Yeah,
so I don't think you necessarily need an education a music education to be successful in music, as long as you have the passion and the drive. And I always think that hard work beats talent, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well, talent, the more you graft at it, and
it's a 10,000 hour rule, right? Like you put a lot of time and effort into something to master it, master your software, master how does a synthesizer work? How does sampling work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's...
and you're always learning. We're still learning.
Yeah.
We're still picking up stuff now, YouTube this and...
What is the last production moment or moment in the studio that someone told you something you were like, that's interesting. It's been a long time.
I should have a there has been things. I think I've recently been loving doing a proper like gated like vocal sort of stuff. Yeah, like and exactly.
Yeah.
Only not as beautiful as that. And yeah, I YouTubed sort of how to do that properly because I think I was doing it a bit of a crappy way.
Okay. And now you do it in a better way.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. What's the secret?
With like with a noise gate.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably a bit obvious, but I'd have like a channel like you would send like a kick drum as a side chain trigger, but like it'd be like the gate trigger, so you can tap in like whatever rhythm you want the rhythm of the gate to be.
Yeah, okay.
And then the gate you have to tweak it a little bit, but then it gets this lovely. I just in that Estiva remix I've done. I mean, that sounds almost like an old Armin thing that. Like a Gaia record or something. It's obviously not that good, but it's...
come on.
You can see where the inspirations come from.
I love that one. Like I said, it's one of my favorite records ever. So you did a good job on remixing that one, Estiva. Okay, let's jump back into the history of Marsh, because you already mentioned in 2012, you got signed by Silk.
Yes.
Tell us about the first record that you signed, because a lot of people don't know this, but Silk has been, how do you say it? The growing ground, or I don't know the exact English word, before a lot of artists.
Stomping grounds.
Yeah, stomping grounds for a lot of artists before they went to Anjunadeep, to Armada, because Henry signs a lot of amazing talents.
Yeah.
Tell us about
I
it.
agree.
This was You'll Be Fine, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, I was listening a little bit less to the sort of banging trance. And so this is probably like, 2014, 13, somewhere there.
This was 2012.
Oh, was it? So
yeah, 11 years ago.
Before this.
Yeah.
Anyway, my taste sort of deepened a little bit, mellowed out. I was loving Anjunadeep. Was a huge fan from the first volume onwards, and
from the David Wests to Supermodel from Paris.
Like early Solarity and J-Tech. And I'd wanted to do something a little bit more progressive. I think I discovered Eric Prydz as well. I was at a festival in England called Global Gathering, which no longer exists, but I stumbled into his tent. I thought I just knew him for Call on Me and like piano.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to walk into something that was gonna I was like blown away by the sounds. it's the early Pride sort of stuff, really.
Yeah.
But
you're like, hey,
with this.
I love this kind of sound.
I discovered Silk, and they had the really unique sound, like it was sort of like the Shingo Nakamura thing.
The ethereal sounds and the bells and the
just this gorgeous, like very naturey sound that was very emotional still, and like captivated what I loved about trance, but was done in a groovy, deeper way. And I was like, yeah, I really, really like this. And that's maybe a direction I'd like to explore a little bit more.
Yeah. And here you are.
And then, yeah, it's
Long
just
story
sort of
short,
got a bit deeper and deeper, really.
Yeah. And then you started working a lot with, because I want to highlight this as well, you started working a lot with Jesse Bullet.
Yes. So Max Sweeney, his name is, he was a friend at university. He wrote a lot of drum and bass under a alias called Monica.
Mm-hmm.
I was always so inspired by what he did. It was like it was out of the box. It was like very experimental, but also just great atmospheres and stuff. But he also loved like house music, but like really cool stuff, you know, like, I don't know if I ever felt like, I always felt a bit imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. But anyway, we just got together and we'd stay up all night in his like, wherever his apartment was. We'd like write music till the early morning, go to sleep at like 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, we just gel so well in this, like, you know, he'll be like, oh, give me the keyboard a sec. I've just got to try this, writing this in. And I'll be like, oh, yes. And like,
that's it. Yeah.
He'd do it for like, you know, 20 minutes. I'll be like, oh, give it back here. Let me try this. And it was just like, that was like everything I looked for in a collaboration. In person, it was just a really, really magical thing. So we did like quite a few records together.
Really get the energy to each other all the time.
Yeah,
basically feeding each other inspiration.
And we'd stop for like a cup of tea and then we'd be discussing like, oh, actually what we should try is like something more like this. And then we'd be like,
I love those sessions that you sit in the studio and while you're taking a break, you already have so many ideas that you kind of want to stop with a break and just do more studio work.
It was just fun. And like, even I remember one day, like we walked back into his room and like the door made such a funny creaking sound. And I was like, oh, we should like record. Why did I even think that? But we recorded the sound of the creaking door and then he like manipulated it and we put it in and it was a really like interesting trippy effect in the track.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going home from like, we'd have like a really raw draft and I'd be like listening to it on the train home. Just, yeah, it was really good feelings. Really good times with those collaborations.
Yeah, and you worked with like Zach Henry with Silk. What was it like to really grow into a new sound, but also work with an American label? And you're being in Europe in the UK.
Yeah.
How did it work out like that?
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the artists are all over the world. I think for Silk, and at the time, I mean, there was Jake who was in California.
Oh yeah.
Max Flyant was doing a bit more of like the sort of the deeper side of the label.
Yeah.
And Max was in Russia,
mm-hmm.
and then there was also Eliran, and he was in Israel. So sort of,
I remember those days. Yeah,
yeah, it was good times. And so yeah, I mean, it's the internet obviously just opened up doors for us to just work from anywhere, really. And
yeah. And you kind of closed the chapter with Silk in 2017 with Life on the Shore, the album.
Yeah.
Did it feel like a closure or was it something that came up and just went in a different direction after that?
I've always loved Anjunadeep and I had wanted to work with Anjunadeep for a long time.
Yeah.
And I really thought, I was really thinking, you know, how can I want to do this full time,
mm-hmm.
and I want to do this as my career. And I'd not quite had the opportunity yet with Silk to sort of be tour. I noticed Anjuna's like there's a lot of touring opportunities, and a lot of the guys that end up signing there and becoming a bit more established end up with these really big tour schedules. And I'm a huge fan of the Anjuna sound as well. So I've been sort of pitching stuff to Anjuna.
Like testing the waters a little bit.
Years, actually. Yeah. A lot of ghosted emails, you know, going to events thinking, oh, there's such and such. I can maybe like, this could be a good moment to chat to them in a really loud club where you can't even hear yourself.
You want to listen to my demo? What?
Yeah, and like, oh, can you listen to my demo? And it wasn't, and I always thought, they just I ruined those events actually for myself because they became a bit of trying to network, but it's not really the right time. And they're just there to like, blow off some steam and have a good time listening to the music that they're working in an office all week long trying to release. And so I get that now. I should have just been more casual and just enjoyed those events. But
to be honest, then if you didn't do that, you probably wouldn't be sitting here or sign those records, because I think, well, yes and no. On one side, because I've been in the same situation many times, or the people come up to me, in general, if you're just being a nice guy, not be so pushy, then you'll be fine. In general, I think. But if you're really like in your face, like, hey, you have to listen to this, and that's you're gonna have a hard time also, because then afterwards, if you're gonna email like, hey, I spoke at this event or blah 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 blah, you're gonna be like, I don't know.
Yeah, so what happened was, for about six years I've been sending stuff and
never get any reply. Or sometimes
I would do. Actually, I have a good friend at the label, and he would like pitch stuff to James Grant.
Okay.
And sometimes I'd get like an email that would be like, James.
Almost there.
He'd be like, James he's listening to this right now in the office. And so I'm like, at my office job, like literally like can't think.
Shaking.
I'm like, can't think straight. And then, I did not hear anything for a while, and then I'm like, maybe not even for the rest of the day, and I'm like, it was just the most crushing feeling. But sometimes I get a reply like, I remember a specific one which was like, James has said, there's something really special about the idea, but it needs to be developed further. And so I'm thinking, great, okay.
What does that mean?
How would you like me to try and develop that further? And that was actually for a track called Me and You, which is on Life on the Shore, which I think is actually my favorite record on that album. And I'm proud of it to this day. I still will play that sometimes, and if I'm in a deeper moment. But it was sort of, I'd have to say it was largely thanks to Dan Kirpin, who works at the label now.
Yeah.
And I'd released the album in 2017 on Life on the Shore on Silk. I was at like an Anjunadeep show in Shoreditch, and I got chatting to Dan. I'd never met Dan before, but he was like the new intern at the label, just started, and he was like, dude, I listened to your album Life on the Shore, really, really love it. He was like, yeah, big fan of that. When you've got new stuff, send it over to my email address and I'll take a listen. And I thought that could be worth a go. Had no idea what would happen really, but I was like, all right, I guess it's another angle to try.
So what happened? You sent the track to him, and what happened?
So in 2017, this is like right before I moved to America and got married.
Yeah.
And I've been living in Cincinnati and ever since. But towards the end of 2017, I wasn't allowed to work in the States because I didn't have my green card yet.
Yeah.
So I'm just producing music all day, every day, which was the dream, but I wasn't making any money. So that
was not the dream.
That was not the dream. And I'm very thankful that Maddie was gracious to let me do that. And I got these 5 or 6 tracks together, and I was like, man, if Anjuna's not into these, I don't know how to crack the nut.
Yeah.
I'm like, I really believed in the music, and so anyway, sent it to Dan at the end of the year. It's around Christmas time. And maybe 2 weeks later, I got a reply that was like, maybe it was like, oh, we're going to listen to these this week. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
another 2 weeks. All right, we'd like to hold. Specific word was hold.
Not sign, but hold. Yeah.
Black Mountain and Soul. And so I'm like losing it. I'm like, whoa, what does that? Well, firstly, what does hold mean? Does that mean you're going to sign them? And actually, it took like about a year before Black Mountain came out. So I was starting to like lose hope as well.
Like, what is happening? Why is it not being released?
And this is getting really close now. It took about 8 months to get my green card.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
time is running out.
I'm like, I think Maddie's parents are going to probably want.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be a bum and get a.
Yeah, we have this son, what is it called, son-in-law right now that's just doing nothing, making music in his room and No one
Right,
really likes it.
Right. And
Yeah.
awful. I mean, they, in their eyes, and totally fair play for, I mean, I can understand why they would think that.
Yeah.
They are, come on, Tom, you need to
Get your shit
this
together.
is just a dream, you know, get your head out of the clouds and go and make some money. And towards the end of 2018, finally an email came in, and Anjuna had a release date for Black Mountain, and then there was further chats about a soul EP and some other stuff. And it's sort of like more and more demos. They just sort of fell in love with everything I was sending them. I got my foot in the door, and then, but I'm so thankful for the timing of it all.
Yeah.
I've been producing at this point for like 9 or 10 years at that point. And I'm thankful for the timing looking back, because I think a lot of people might get picked up a bit early.
Yeah.
And then the pressure of it all, like they can't follow up the record. They're like, they hit this big block, like, oh, that was the best thing I ever wrote. I've signed it on at one of the best labels. Like, how the heck what do I do? Like, how do I follow that up? They're not consistent with their production skills. Yeah. And now, but at the point when Anjuna picked me up, I'm like, I can just keep doing it. I can just.
Yeah, because you were not, how do we say, like a new kid on the block. You already had some decent mileage on you with releases and production skills and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm really thankful for that, actually, because it all came at the right time. And I trust these labels. I think I would say that to producers, like, trust the labels' instincts on how developed they think the sound is and where you are in the process, because they want to take you on, like, when they know that they can really get behind the artist and not just like a one hit, and it's not much worth of an investment then, is it?
They already had like a lot of you lined up for the future. They already knew, like, we can do this and this and this already in the future.
Yeah.
And then obviously in 2020 your album Leani came along as well.
Yeah.
Just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
took away every perfect plan with promoting the album.
Right.
Tell us about the album first.
Leilani is one of Maddie's middle names.
Ah, okay. With your wife.
My wife, Maddie. It's a Hawaiian word that her mum gave her. It sort of means heavenly flower.
Mm-hmm.
It's spelt incorrectly, but her mum wanted to give her something which was already a really unique middle name, but so unique that no one in the world had it.
A little bit too unique.
And it was a bit of a tribute to Kami, Maddie's mum. We lost Kami at the end of 2018, and it was crazy time, because while I'm seeing Maddie go through the most painful thing that she's ever gone through in her life, I'm getting these emails literally at the same time from Anjuna saying that they want to
she was on the
release.
lowest low, you were on the highest high.
And it's like, I have to really I have to play this right, because this is a really important time for Maddie. That's the most important thing now.
Yeah.
And this is secondary and not anywhere near.
That must have been super hard.
Well, it was, I just sort of dealt with it at the time, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was super hard for Maddie and for us to see Maddie go through that was awful.
Mm-hmm.
So the album was a bit of the album was built sort of in 2018, 2019, and it felt right to be a bit of a tribute to that story, really.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Like a proper, how do you say it, like a tribute, basically.
Yeah. There's a track on there called Kami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very true. I mean, that's the funny thing, because I spoke about this with Pavo 2 weeks ago as well, that he uses music really like a therapy, or like, how do you say it? He really puts his emotions in there. He processes things in life through music. And this is one of those things as well, I guess.
100. I say like the same thing.
Yeah.
I think I do sometimes I definitely struggle to put names on feelings and like process stuff or express emotion sometimes day to day. But I think it really comes out when I'm writing music, and sort of subconsciously I'm able to process life and the ups and downs through getting lost in jamming away, writing the music.
Yeah, just put everything that you want to process in life just in your music. I guess that's the best way of processing things if you have a weird mind like we have. Musicians, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That was great. After that, like I said, the album came out in 2020. Corona hits, which is terrible in your case as well. Like, not selfishly said, of course, but your career is really kicking off at the moment. You're doing a lot of shows, and then the pandemic came. But you were still doing a lot of music in the meantime as well. How did you get through that phase, dealing with the disappointment that like you were supposed to kick off? This was you were waiting for all these years.
I know. It was that was so crushing for me.
Yeah.
Because I'd had such cool tour dates lined up for 2020, and you know, we didn't know when it was. We thought this could be it. Like
that's it.
Touring.
It's over. There's no more touring ever again.
But after a few months, I thought I might give the live stream thing a go.
Yeah.
And actually, it was a beautiful time. And I had this stream on a Friday called Marsh and Cats.
Yeah.
It wasn't initially called anything, but my cats would join me. Sometimes Clara would attack me while I was trying to mix on the decks. And yeah, I'd just do like a 4-hour mix really. And I'd just at that day spend the whole day searching what's come out on that Friday and pick the best stuff I could to make an entertaining 4-hour mix. And rejiggle my whole studio room so that I had like my camera and everything set up in place, get ready to go, take a shower, mix for 4 hours, and then
it's bittersweet, but those times were kind of
amazing.
I remember
times.
Those Twitch streams as well sometimes.
Yeah, it was a special time.
Yeah. And then in the meantime, you just rolled on with music as well, because one of the things that really stood out for me when I heard it for the first time was your Shivers remix. It came out in 2020 as well. And also your remix for Solarstone.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, both legendary tracks to me.
What did it feel like for you growing up with these tracks on your, what's it called, Euphoria CDs? And suddenly those artists are getting in touch with you to remix those tracks.
Well, I think, so the Armin one came around first, and I'd been emailed to remix. I think it was something from his newest album at the time.
Yeah, the Balance one. Yeah.
And actually, in the list of tracks to remix, I saw some classics at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, ooh. I mean, I was interested to do like a new remix, but then I saw those and I was like, and I saw Shivers. And so I replied within like a couple of minutes of the email, because I was like, I have to get this before
someone else is going to steal it. Yeah.
I was like, I'll do Shivers. And yeah, I was so excited to do that. Definitely. I mean, it's mind blowing. This whole thing is mind blowing to me. I can't comprehend it. You in front of, like yesterday, in front of 9,000 people in London, and it's like,
what is happening?
I'm not really
here?
like built to like be able to understand that. I mean, it's just mind blowing.
I don't think anyone is.
No, it's like it's hard to explain it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can. I don't think you can explain that to people that didn't have the experience to do those kind of things. I guess. Now, fast forward, your career is just flying off. In the meantime, you made your dream come true, signed to Anjunadeep, and then suddenly something came along that I didn't see coming, because in 2021, Joris Voorn signed one of your tracks, Little Darling.
Yes.
Tell us about how that came along.
Well, big fan of Joris Voorn. Big fan of Spectrum Radio as well. I sort of listen to that if I'm running. And yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to pitch something over to Joris and see if his listeners, if any of them hadn't come across my stuff as well, and try and, broaden the audience a little bit. And it went really well. And Anjuna was really cool with that too. There was plenty of other stuff that they had.
Yeah.
But they were like, yeah, we're happy for you to do that. So yeah, did it. And
yours remixed it as well.
Yes. And there's another remix as well from Shadow Child's alias Polymod.
Mm-hmm.
and I love all of both remixes are fantastic. So I've been playing those out a lot in the sets.
I think it's a monumental track, really, really good. And then, of course, what I want to address as well, early this year, 2023, Endless came out.
Yes.
Which is very different from the stuff that you did before, I guess.
I think my sound has been getting a bit clubbier.
Yeah.
BPMs have gone up a little bit gradually, maybe like 2 or 3 BPM per album. I've been playing like more headline slots in some of the shows and headlining my own nights and things. And I definitely found it was a bit tricky to like headline a show with sort of 120 BPM, even 122 BPM progressive music. People can do that incredibly well, but I just felt like I think I go back to me when I go out to a show. I actually really enjoy it when it's a bit more higher energy and I can jump around and get sweaty with other people, and I like, you know, a lot of hands in the air. I didn't want just people swaying and sort of vibing. I wanted more energy, jumping, and so I've gradually been moving a bit more in that direction, but trying to stay true, because I still love the deeper sound. I love all of the deeper emotional, soulful stuff. I'm trying to captivate that or capture that in the direction I've gone in.
So basically what happened is that you took the experience you had in the last few years, I guess, from playing dance floor shows, like massive shows, and you kind of felt like, hey, I need to go in this little direction to make sure that that you can play your own stuff on peak time as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And part of me, you end up questioning yourself a bit.
Yeah, because are you making music for yourself or for the dance floor?
Well, all of this stuff I'm like 100% into.
Yeah.
I could never write something that I'm not feeling the passion for. But I feel a bit bad for like some of the fans that started out in the Silk days and they loved the deeper side, and now I've sort of lost them a bit maybe with being a bit more progressive. But then you pick up new people, but it's like, oh yeah, you want to like please everyone, but it's impossible to do that. And I do. My heart breaks a bit when
I think to be honest, to be really honest with you, I think every artist has these moments, like, because you have your supporters from the start that love this sound from the beginning on, and you become more successful, I guess, and along the way you just gain fans and lose fans in the meantime. But you can't please everyone. That's very important, even though you're probably a people pleaser, so you want to.
Well, yeah,
that's probably what you want. That brings us to the next spot, because you started doing all-nighters. Is that something that comes out of the I want to please everyone, so just start on 118 BPM and end with, I don't know, 134?
No, not really. But
why did you feel like that you want to play full nights?
It was an opportunity that just came up, and I thought I'll give it a go. But also something I never predicted about the career, the dream, is well, there's a few things to say about that. But when I do these headline shows, I often will play my music, my biggest hits or whatever, and the new hits coming, and you play an hour and a half or 2 hours, and honestly, it does get pretty tiring to do that.
Yeah, it's the same sets.
Yeah,
well, not necessarily
similar,
like 80% the same sets.
Yeah, exactly. Or 90%, and it gets quite stale. For me personally, I know that it's probably true for a lot of DJs or artists as well. And these all night long shows are brilliant because it's like totally. I go in without planning. I'm such a planner with my sets.
Yeah.
Every cue point is marked, everything. But with these all night long shows, it's like I'm going to start deep. I'm going to have like 2 of the decks just on my whole melodic house library to start with. And I'll play records that I love, that are beautiful, that I've not been able to play forever.
Yeah.
And I'll work from there, and then I'll do my usual thing for a couple of hours in the set, and then I'll even work up to like playing trance at the end, which has been so fun. I mean, I'm playing all of those records I mentioned, like the Strange World and the Liberation Ferry Corsten remix. And
Yeah. So the old Tom comes up.
Yeah, but it
from
was
the
fun.
from the late 90s.
I think a lot of the fans, a lot of the fans are sort of a similar age to me. We all grew up with that same. A lot of us have that same past. So a lot of them sort of, it takes them back. We all go back to like being 13 and jumping around in our living rooms, and it's like a really special thing to do. And yeah, I'm playing records that it's really hard to hear now. If you go and hear Ferry, it'd be quite hard, I think, to hear Liberation.
No, he's never going to play that. No. But what do you think about? What do you think? Because it's funny that you address this, because what I noticed with a lot of artists in the UK actually right now, like a Ben Hemsley, for example, they are bringing back those classics and play them for, let's say, quote unquote, kids, and they are loving it. What do you? Because you live in America right now, still in Cincinnati. Do you see what's going on in the UK right now with the revival of the old school sound? And because the remix that you made also, that you say from Lange, Drifting Away, is also a little bit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that coming back in a big way. The old trance records from that time were like, they're just made really beautifully. There was like a finesse about them.
Yeah.
And they were all a bit different, and some would be a bit more fun and quirky, and some would be, and like I love all of the analog drum machine used on them, more of them, and it was like the production was a bit more raw and rough around the edges, and
vocals were like totally not pitched in the right way.
Yeah,
so a lot of them are really false.
And the grooves, and like you'd have like a jacking house groove on top of there was just a really special time for dance music, for trance music, and it's awesome music, and I'm so happy to see that sort of trying to make a bit of a revival. I'm all for that. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, do I try and do a 134? Do I try and make some faster BPM stuff? I mean, my stuff there's stuff that is kind of trance. It's kind of trance, but it's sort of disguised as more like progressive house or whatever we put it out as.
It's trance.
Yeah,
it is trance, but people just label it differently, I guess.
Right.
People label it whatever. I mean, I feel that genres are disappearing anyway, so kind of.
Well, it's been a lot of fun to do that, definitely.
Yeah. And last but not least, I want to discuss Endless Remix, because I mean that's one of the reasons why you're here, I guess, to promote that album. Just came out. What is your favorite remix out of the whole pack that you played the most in your set? I'm going to put you on the spot right now. We're going to quote this, put on social media. No, just kidding. Which is the one that you play the most in your sets? Let's keep it that way.
Well, how about I've played the Ezekiel Arias remix of Blue a lot.
Yeah.
But that was the first one I got. And that wasn't even commissioned. It was like, he just sent me, he'd actually used like one of those websites where you can rip like the different...
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like but you know, I got the gist of it, and I was like, here's the stems. I love it.
Yeah.
So I've had that one for the longest. But I really, really love the Wasu remix of Sleep. It's like, it's a 4 to the floor version of, and it's kind of organic, because the regular version is like more of a breaks version. And I love it. I think it's just absolutely nailed it. And I've been playing that a lot in the all night long shows. And I played it in Manchester recently and could hear, it's so crazy to see like the crowd singing along to that one.
Like, I made this in my bedroom. Yeah. Endless is out. Endless Remix is done. You've done some epic live streams. What is coming up next?
So we've got the all night long tour
in the US.
Yeah. Doing, I think, 8 or 9 shows there in some of my bigger markets in the States. We've got some new original music coming out very soon, which we're very, very excited about. There's one track that I've done. It's a collaboration with All Night, also known as Jody Knight, who's collaborated on a few of the tracks on Endless.
I love that you're looking at your manager and like, I'm not spilling too much, am I?
Well, the track's
Thumbs up.
called Everything. All right, the track's called Everything, and it's crazy the reaction that it gets when I play it in the sets, and to see people are singing every word to it. It's like I've never had an unreleased track, I think, that's had this much.
People know it from your sets and from your live streams.
That's true, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's going to come out in October.
Okay.
And it's actually going to be on Warner.
Okay.
Which is going to be a bit of an interesting new direction. I mean, it's just a 1-track deal.
Well, you don't know. Let's see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all, my team's like really, really excited about it. I played it in London yesterday. Jodie Knight was actually there in the crowd, and it was such a special moment. She was on someone's shoulders singing it along, and like,
and you saw her doing it?
Yeah.
Oh man, that must have been a special moment.
It was like really cool to see that. Like it moved me. I think Jodie texted me after. She was like, that moved me so much. I cried for 10 minutes after.
That's amazing. That's what music can do to you.
I know. So we're really, really, really excited about that track. There's some bits on Armada. There's the Lounge remix will hopefully come out a bit later on in the year. What else to say, really? There's a
nice ID in the set you played in there. Yeah.
There's an ID which
might be something very cool.
Well, I going back to that, loving that old trance sound. We thought, well, let's pitch it. I wanted to pitch it to one of my all-time favorite heroes in trance music, and this person has accepted to work on it and has taken the stems, and very, very excited to see what comes of that.
Very excited. I did it. Anyways, thank you for answering all these questions, man. I'm very much looking forward to all the beautiful music that's coming up in the future. And please keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're killing it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for watching this podcast with Marsh. Next week, we're going to be back with a new A State of Trance podcast. We're going to have Mike, aka Push, in the studio. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Check all previous episodes on YouTube or your favorite podcast portal. A State of Trance podcast.